Okay, this is gonna be a video with an interesting comment section. So TLDR, this is just a really quick video to quote-unquote debunk why BigBoiPinoy's relic manipulation sheet doesn't have enough sample size yet to be statistically significant. Or in other words, all these results, they could be produced if each subset was 25% of a hit. Which, those are some fighting words, I know, so you don't bear with me, right? But he probably needs at least 4 times the sample size before I could say that there's something significant going on. But ideally, you probably want 10 times around, or 10 times sample size. And I used to actually I don't know how to say believe in this sheet, but I shared it around, I debated with people on it, and I was like, well, he's got 600 plus sample sizes, surely it's got to count for something, right? And it turns out that humans are really bad at interpreting randomness. We always think there's patterns that exist when there's just not any patterns. So yeah, it's good. So first, we have to understand how BigBoiPinoy's his sheet works, or rather what these numbers mean. So there's a bunch of leading theory here that I'm not gonna get into. The biggest takeaway is that each of these numbers indicate rolling into one of the lines in your relic, right? So in your relic, you have 4 different relic slots, and the reason why they all start with 4 is because you can basically force a start at 4 by upgrading a relic that has 3 slots and always boom the 4th slot, right? So what a 4-1-1 string basically means is that you upgraded a relic, you hit the 4th slot, and then your next 2 upgrades hit the first subset, right? And so the part of this sheet that I want to focus on is this 4th relic column, because this is where people start saying that okay, you can definitely tell where the patterns are. I've had people tell me that okay, I now know which quote-unquote pattern string I'm on, because if you, let's say, you hit a 4-1-1, so you would now look at each 4 of these results, right, and say, okay, I'm much more likely to hit either the 2nd or the 3rd line. Or for a more extreme example, in this case, right, let's say you hit a 4-2-4, you'd be like, okay, well, I have a really good chance of hitting the first line. And basically, that's how the whole relic manipulation goes. So the assumption in the sheet is that you basically can, by using existing patterns, you can determine what your next relic upgrade is going to be. And here's the problem. As I already said, all of these, they could be generated by random, right? So what I've done is I've created a simulator of how relic subset map can go inside of itself. So it's basically set to be the same as this. He has 16 subcells, basically. Each of these there's 16 different permutations. And that's what I've also got as well. So we have 16 different permutations, and within each permutation we have a sample of 40, which is actually more than what he has sometimes. Sometimes he only has 30 to 40, sometimes it's low as 20. But yeah, we're just gonna say each one is 40, right? And so in each of these I have a random number generator, right? It just generates any random number between 0 and 1. And then this thing, what it does is it sort of decides what relic line it would have gone on, right? By assigning 1 to 4, right? It checks if it's greater than 0.75, it's 4, if it's greater than 0.5, it's 3, it's between 0.5, 0.25, it's 2, etc., right? So basically what this is saying is that within the first subcell, the number 3 has occurred 7 times, right? So let's take a look at this. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? So yeah, and then what it does is that it takes the sums and divides them by each subset. So this is basically exactly how BigBoy sheets works, where you see this thing, it would be 9 divided by the sum of this. So let's get favorite friend here, so it would be 9 plus 8 plus 5 plus 5, and then 9 divided by 27. I'm stupid. 9 divided by 27. 23, right? So that's how these blocks are working. And so, as you can see, it doesn't look anything like 25, 25, 25, 25. If anything, it looks like there's patterns, right? For the first subcell, you would say, oh, I'm gonna hit the fourth relic line much more likely, right? Or for this relic line. And again, like what each of these subcells are, they're the equivalent of like each of these, right? That's what they're equivalent to, right? So in this case, right, you might say, okay, well, I'm very unlikely to hit the second line, or for this one, I'm very unlikely to hit the third line. But remember, all of these are being generated by a random number generator. Each of these should have a quote-unquote equal chance to hit, right? And if you type anything here, it'll force the random to just regenerate itself, so you keep running it, right? I didn't cherry pick like a really nice one where it looked extreme. This is always like this at a sample size of 40. So, just to see what happens, I double the sample sizes to 80, and then I double them again to 160. So now basically we're approaching on double or 4 times the amount of the data that BigBoiPinoy would have. And you can still see, right? It still doesn't look like 25, 25, 25, 25. It still looks like there's patterns, right? Like here, you might say, like, okay, well, for this pattern, I would most likely be upgrading into Relic Slot 4. Right? And again, we can keep shuffling it, and you'll see, right? It looks a lot like his sheet, right? Where you have, like, one result that's pretty high, and then one result that's not pretty high. Now, I do have this set to version 2.0, because this is when he probably had the most amount of data. He doesn't have as much sample sizes in 2.1 yet, because 2.1 is still ongoing. But yeah, you can see even at 80, we see things that look like patterns, right? And at 160, you still see it doesn't look 25, 25. Now, I will say that when you start getting to 160, you no longer get the like extreme swings. It kind of caps out at like 17%-ish in terms of like the variance, right? Like you don't see like 11s anymore. You don't see stuff that like goes below 10 anymore, right? Like he does. Although, like, this one, the sample size is ridiculously small. I think that's, like, less than 30, right? But, yeah. So, that's why I said he needs at least a sample size of, like, 160. Because if his sheet can still produce these very, very low outliers with a sample size of, like, 160 per subcell, then, you know, then he might be onto something. Then we have to be onto something, right? But the way that it stands right now, he doesn't really have enough, there's just not enough sample sizes to make a definitive call that is statistically significant. So, yeah, it is what it is. I don't think he, like, made the sheet out of malice, but like I said, people are just bad at dealing with randomness. We want to believe that we can game the system, especially when Oil's artifact system is so dog shit. But, again, like, what he has right now, it's just not statistically significant. Right? So running a random number generator can produce basically the same patterns that he's seen. And these are all supposed to have an equal chance of hitting each subset. So, yep, that's the video. I pretty much never make voice recorded videos, so this is going to be awful, but hey, it is what it is. And I'm sure I'm going to get blasted in the comments, so this will be fun.